Tash Dile and welcome to In Conversation with Tibet TV. This is Sakina Butt. For today's episode, we have with us a person who has 29 years of teaching experience. He has taught for 12 years in India and 17 years in the US. He is here in Dharamshala to attend the 7th Shirik General Conference on Education. His name is Tenzin Chemi Nuwa. Chimila, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
So Chimila, you have years of experience in the education field. So can you share with us one of your best experiences related to education?
Well, there are many good experiences. There are many positive experiences. When you find that the students have achieved or the students have become successful in the core objective of your lesson. So that is when I think not only me, but every teacher will actually feel satisfied. And that would be the best experience.
There is actually no strict definition of what is good and quality education. But subjectively, if you have to define, what do you think should constitute a good and quality education?
At least in the United States, at least in the school district where I taught, that is the Los Angeles School District, we have a very precise, defined definition of education. And that is to prepare our students ready for college and ready to contribute to the society. And in my opinion, definition of education always changes. It changes with time. Need for education, purpose of education, functions of education, characteristics of education are the elements that make up a definition.
Right now, you just mentioned that the purpose of education or education is defined according to time. So can you give an example?
There was a time when I was in school, so that goes all the way back to 1960s. I don't ever remember, either in the colleges I went to or the schools I attended, where we were taught or explained what the purpose of education, purpose of coming to school. All that I knew and all that I was aware of was that I have to pass a test, an examination. That was the focus.
You didn't have an ambition then?
For me, when I was in the 9th grade, I knew, just for me personally, I knew exactly what I wanted to be. And that was, I wanted to be a teacher. By the time I became like close to finishing my high school, then I was highly influenced by my English teacher. And so I thought, or maybe I want to go into journalism. So there was internal conflict. But by the time, you see, the recession, the break between finishing high school and then finally joining a university for college, again, changes take place. But my desire to become a teacher was much more stronger. I was more persistent, and that's the ambition I pursued.
So basically, it was your English teacher from whom you got inspired to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Purpose of education varies among different people. So according to you, what is the purpose of education?
Education will always be and should always be the greatest equalizer.
And what do you mean by that?
In human community, there are many factions and many divisions. Some are rich, some are poor. Some are highly educated, some are not. But if you want to try to be equal in order to get access to opportunities, education is the key. In that sense, I always say education is the equalizer.
So what qualities do you think should an excellent teacher have?
Oh, many. But the first and the foremost, of course, the teacher should be an expert in his or her own discipline. The second quality is that you should really have empathy, love, and compassion towards your own students. That, I think, is the bedrock of a good teacher. Because along the way, it's not just months and years, but to years to end when you want to be a teacher, there are challenges. The road is very bumpy. Your patience will be tested. Your skills will be tested. Your philosophy will be tested. And so if you don't have something to rely on, something to a strong ground on which you can stand, you can actually break down. I've seen many new teachers do that. And that bedrock, the foundation, is your belief in the power, your belief in the values of love and compassion.
Why did you mention that a teacher should have empathy? Can you explain more on that?
That is based on the education psychology. Often teachers fail to step down to the level of their own students. In other words, empathy means to be able to feel like the others.
What is the biggest challenge faced by our education system today, and what are the solutions that we should adopt to eliminate such challenges?
We do have many challenges. I think currently from the 7th Tibetan Teachers Conference, I came to know a little bit about the school student enrollment. Looks like the Tibetan student enrollment is now getting smaller and smaller. And so that may be a challenge. But in general, challenges will always be there. The challenges are always there because of the time changes. But the most important thing, I think, is challenges must always be treated or considered as an opportunity.
So what solution should the system adopt to eliminate such challenges?
Education system must be able to adapt with the changing time, changing needs, changing aspirations, desires of the student. In that context, of course, then each country will vary, each community will vary. Teachers, the school systems, the education policies, they must always be able to reflect the changing times.
You have attended the conference that was recently held in Central Tibetan Administration. So according to you, how are these conferences helping to strengthen the Tibetan academic field?
I had the opportunity to attend the third Tibetan Teachers Conference back then in the 1980s, I think 83, when I was a teacher here. And this time I was also had the great opportunity to attend. And these venues are very, very helpful and useful to the teachers in many ways. One, it becomes a forum or a venue for all the teachers to get together. And this time, as unlike before, this time I saw that they break into smaller committees. And in those smaller groups, they discuss the current issues. They discuss solutions to those issues. And so it's a very effective and a great opportunity for teachers to come together, talk about their problems, talk about the good experience and the bad experiences, and ultimately this kind of conference will be able to define or establish the future direction of our educational system, our education department, activities of education department. And then of course also, since the teachers have come from different schools and different locations, so they have the opportunity to share their own experiences. I think it's a great thing to do.
So lastly, what is your piece of advice to the Tibetan children in and outside Tibet who are aspiring to excel in their own particular fields?
I'm really not in a position to advise anybody, but certainly I can express my own feelings. And this will be very specific to the Tibetans, to Tibetan teachers, Tibetan students, and parents, very specific to them. And that is my core belief, is that the Tibetans have to not only preserve Tibetan language and culture, but Tibetan students and Tibetans must be really good in Tibetan. The level of Tibetan standard should be such that you are able to get access to the great treasury of Tibetan knowledge, that is our Buddhist philosophy. I studied English literature from 7th century Geoffrey Chaucer to the 20th century. I studied the great literary figures of England, including Shakespeare, American literary figures. And I used to be such an admirer of those literature. Later on in my life, then I got access, I became more interested in Tibetan Buddhism. And so I studied some of the Tibetan treatises, the Buddha's teachings and discourses. Comparatively speaking, I lost interest in the English literature. So rich, profound, and relevant to our own present time. And in fact, the Buddhist philosophy, it's relevant to all times. Now, if you really want to get access to this kind of repertoire of wisdom and knowledge, the only way to do is Tibetan language. Now, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has said this many times. You may find many books translated into English, but those are not the core, the profound subject matter of Buddhism. They have yet to be translated. And if you really want to get access to that kind of knowledge and wisdom, Tibetan language is absolutely necessary. Now, that's education, knowledge part of it. That knowledge and education, if it can be tempered with, or it can be integrated with, or it can be qualified with what is called humility, love and compassion, values of compassion, values of love. I think Tibetans have the potential to be a full human being. So that is the personal core belief that I want to share.
Chemila, thank you so much for giving us your time. It was an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next episode of In Conversation with Tibet TV.